Recently, we released a video about the Studio Lux line of integrated bidet toilets, and we got a lot of questions about how those compare to the TOTO Neorest line of products. Today, we're going to give you that feedback by comparing the entry-level Studio Lux, the SLi 2000, to the entry-level TOTO Neorest, the RH, and give you all the details about how the two compare to one another. My name is Daniel Johnson. I'm your bidet expert and the owner and founder of minibidets.com, where we've been selling bidet seats for 10 years, and I've used both of these personally in my own home, so I have a lot of experience to share. Now, while today we're talking about the Studio Lux SLi 2000 versus the RH, the other Neorest units are going to compare differently to the Studio Lux line than the RH, because as you move up the price tier of Neorest, things change. If you want to get a feel for how the higher end Neorest stack up to the Studio Lux line, your best way to do that is to watch this video through in its entirety, and then check out our Neorest comparison video, a link is in the video description, and see how the RH stacks up to the other Neorest, and then you'll get the full picture. Aside from a single seam difference, all of the Studio Lux units look exactly the same and are very sleek and very classy, along with having a fully porcelain base. The Neorest RH, on the other hand, has a plastic access panel in the back and is a little bit taller in the back, but still gives you a sleek look and feel. The power cord on these units also come out of different sides. We can see the power cord for the Studio Lux over here and the power cord for the RH over on this side, so they're on opposite sides. When we're talking about seat size, it's also important to note that the Studio Lux has a larger sittable space that's wider in the front, whereas the RH has a slightly smaller sittable space that is more narrow in the front. Higher end Neorest have larger sittable spaces like the Studio Lux, however. Comfort between the two, they're both very comfortable because of the way that they're designed with the large space to sit on. So either of these is going to be more comfortable than you're going to get with a standard bidet seat. The remote for both of these units is very different. When we're talking about the Studio Lux, we have a plastic remote with raised buttons and nothing on the back of the remote. We also have LED lights here that will tell you what you're selecting, what pressure, etc. as these lights move up the scale. With the Neorest remote, we have a stainless steel remote with buttons on the front, the top, and also on the back with a menu. So this is where you're going to see all of your advanced options, and you're going to get feedback with the remote on the back. The wall mount on both of these units is quite a bit different as well. With the Studio Lux, you're going to have a wall mount that holds it a little ways away from the wall, and the remote slides into the wall mount sideways. Whereas with the Neorest remote, the wall mount uses a magnet to hold the remote close to the wall for easy operation without holding it in your hand. We define response time as the amount of time from a button press to the wash actually starting. On the Studio Lux, you're looking at 6 seconds. On the RH, you're looking at 8 seconds. Both of these units will beep when the remote signal makes it to the seat with a command. With the Studio Lux, that's something that's on automatically and cannot be turned off. With the Neorest line, you can turn that off if that's something that you'd prefer not to have. The Studio Lux line has a lot more flexibility when it comes to operating it without a remote, with a flush button on one side and a multifunctional knob on the other side that will do different things depending on how you spin it, how much you pull it in or push it out. Basically, most of the functions can be operated using that knob, even without a remote. The Neorest, on the other hand, has a flush button in case the remote's no longer working, but that's it. As is true with any bidet, these units make some noise. Neither of them is overly loud, but the Neorest line is more consistent throughout the wash, whereas the Studio Lux kind of has some noises mixed in throughout the wash as well, so it has a little bit less of a refined sound. The Neorest line also has a very powerful pump-assisted flush, but it is still pretty quiet and is only slightly louder than a standard gravity flush toilet, and nowhere near as loud as what you experience in a public bathroom. With the Studio Lux line, we've been told that all of the units use the same pump-assisted flush. However, we've had some mixed results. With the SLi 2000 that we've tested, we've had a very loud flush, similar to that of a public restroom, probably a little bit less. However, with the SLi 4000, their top of the end unit, we've had a quieter flush, more akin to what we see with the Neorest. Now, what we don't know is if that is true with all SLi 2000s being louder, or if it just happens to be the SLi 2000 that we have. So that piece is unknown, but our experience is that the SLi 2000 is pretty loud, whereas the 4000, which is their highest end unit, is more akin to what we see with the Neorest or a standard toilet. Nozzle design is one of the areas that these units differ in a lot. With the SLi 2000, you're looking at a stainless steel nozzle with 2 spouts built into it, whereas with the Neorest line, you're looking at a plastic nozzle with 3 spouts built into it. Now, the plastic nozzle does have a special coating on it that TOTO tells us is just as hygienic as the stainless steel nozzle, but we don't have any way to test that as of this point in time. The SLi 2000 also has a removable nozzle tip, whereas the Neorest does not. However, the Neorest has e-water, which is a sterilization method that is used to clean the nozzle and pre-mist the bowl, whereas the Studio Lux does not have that function. Another unique thing about the Neorest line is that the nozzle is a telescoping nozzle, which means that it can reach further while still being stored in the same space in the back. The reach is defined as we define it, from the front of the bowl to where the water makes contact with the individual. Because of the telescoping nozzle, the Neorest has further reach. The Studio Lux line has a reach for the rear wash of 8 3/4 to 9 3/4, and a front wash reach of 7.5 to 8.5 inches. The Neorest RH, on the other hand, has a reach of 8 inches to 9.5, which compared to the Studio Lux gives you over an inch of additional adjustability there. On the front wash, you're looking at 7.5 to 8 3/4. So again, more range there as well, all due to that telescoping nozzle. One of the things we love about both of these lines of products is that they have unlimited warm water. You connect it to a cold water source and it heats the water in the unit itself with an instant water heater and gives you the ability to adjust the water temperature using the remote. The SLi 2000 does not offer a pulsating wash, whereas the RH does. And that means you can get soft and hard streams oscillating back and forth between those streams to give a massaging sensation. The SLi 2000 and the RH both offer a nozzle oscillation from front to back. The SLi 2000 auto kicks into that oscillation, whereas the RH allows you to select it or not select it depending on your preference, and has a lot of other customization features that the Studio Lux line does not have. With pressure range, you can choose between high and medium on the Studio Lux line, whereas with the RH, you have high, medium, soft, very soft. You have a wide range of water pressures to choose from. So regardless of how tender you are or how much power you need, the Neorest line has got you covered, whereas the Studio Lux line does not have soft and wide wash options. So if you're looking for a lot of power, the Studio Lux does a fantastic job, but if you're needing something more gentle, the Studio Lux may not be the best fit for you. While the SLi 2000 and 3000 do not have user presets, the SLi 4000 does. However, all of the units in the Neorest lineup have user presets, which allow you to save 2 wash settings into the unit for use at any time. Both of these units offer 2 flush settings, a small flush and a larger flush. The Studio Lux flushes about 6 seconds after you stand up from the toilet, whereas the RH, you can configure to flush 5, 10, or even 15 seconds after you stand up. You can also turn off the auto flushing altogether in case maybe you have it in a master bathroom and you only want it to flush when you tell it to flush so that you're not flushing it in the middle of the night. Both of these units do have 2 flush buttons on the remote, one for the small, one for the large. The Studio Lux's buttons, of course, are on the front of the remote, just like all of its buttons are, whereas the RH has the buttons on the top of the remote, which comes in really handy for guys who are doing number one and want to be able to flush the toilet while looking down at the remote from the top. Both of these lines offer a powerful dryer. You'll hear us say time and time again at many bidets that none of the units that we sell offer dryers that will get you dry instantly, but as far as dryers go, it really doesn't get better than what these lines offer. From a deodorizer standpoint, the Neorest line offers those, whereas the Studio Lux line does not. Now, the deodorizer does not add additional scent into the air. It actually removes the odor smell when using it. Sittable lid wise, none of the Neorest units offer a sittable lid. The Studio Lux line technically doesn't. However, looking at the design of the lid, we feel like you would be able to put some weight on the lid without cracking it. Auto open, with all of the Neorest, the auto open automatically kicks on when you walk past the toilet using a motion sensor, and there's a button on the remote to auto open the seat if you're a guy and you're doing number one. With the Studio Lux, if you go with the 2000 or the 3000, you have a button press that opens the lid and then another button press that opens the seat. However, with the 4000, their top of the line unit, you get the same functionality that you do with the Neorest line, where the motion sensor picks up that you're walking past and auto opens that lid when you walk past. All of the units that offer the auto opening when you walk past do have the option to turn that off as well. That includes all of the Neorest as well as the 4000 in the Studio Lux series. Both of these units offer nightlights as well. With the TOTO units, you have an inside the bowl nightlight as well as an outside the bowl nightlight. With the Studio Lux line, you have a bowl nightlight that lights up the bowl portion. Both of these are also made from the higher quality plastic, polypropylene versus ABS plastic, that you may see in cheaper, less expensive integrated units. So from a quality of build standpoint, we're very happy with both of these lines of products. Which of these units is easier to install really depends on your bathroom setup. In our installation video for the Studio Lux line, we talked about the fact that it's very easy to install. And while it is, because it does not require you to drill into the floor, the top and the bowl all connect in one piece and there's no flange adapter, it can be a bit tricky if you're in a tight space. One of the things that can help with that is a ratcheting wrench so that you don't have to reach around quite so much and lift the wrench off every time that you're tightening that nut onto the flange itself. However, if you're in a tight space, you don't want to mess with a ratcheting wrench, the Neorest line might be easier. You have 3 pieces to install, the top, the bowl, and the flange adapter itself, and you do need to drill into the floor in a few places, but because of the fact that you drill into the floor, you have access from the outside of the bowl to connect the bowl to the floor, which makes it a little bit easier in a tight space. Both of these units also use their own water inlet. So you're not going to use the standard water inlet that's used with your current toilet. You're going to install a new one in its place. That comes with either of these units. The Neorest line, any of the Neorest lines, have pretty short water supply lines. So you need to make sure that you're following TOTO specifications as to where that water supply line is located. Any of our Neorest videos walk through where that location needs to be for the particular Neorest that's in that install video. On the Studio Lux line, the water supply is quite a bit longer, so you have a lot more flexibility about water supply placement while still being able to install the toilet. Up till this point, we've just talked about features. However, we've sold a lot of these units, and our customers have come back to us and given us feedback, and one of the big things that they've shared is how the customization works. With the Studio Lux, what you see is what you get. You press a button on the remote handles that option as it's designed to. With the RH, you can configure practically any option to work exactly how you see fit, meaning that if there's something about the unit that you're unhappy with, chances are you can adjust it to make it perfect for your needs. So you might be thinking to yourself, really, Dan, is it really that customizable? Well, if you don't believe us, watch our Neorest remote playlist, a link is in the video description, that walks through 16 different things that you can adjust or configure on the Neorest remote. all of the different things you could possibly imagine are in that playlist because they're all customizable. Check out that playlist to get a feel for how incredibly customizable the Neorest lineup really is. From a quality of build standpoint, the TOTO Neorest line is tried and true. Since we've started selling them at the beginning of our business until now, we see very, very, very little problems with this lineup. Whereas with the Studio Lux, we've not seen a lot of problems yet, but it's still a very new product to the US, so we can't say from a history standpoint what's coming down the pipeline. We assume it's a high quality build, but time will tell. Another common comment we get about the Studio Lux line is the water pressure. So the Studio Lux line has high water pressure and then it has higher water pressure. It really doesn't have any low water pressure settings, whereas the Neorest line has really good high water pressure, similar to that of the Studio Lux line. However, it also has medium, low, and lower water pressures with wide wash options, really giving you the ability to power wash yourself, or if you're really sensitive, give yourself a really gentle clean that still gets the job done. Because of the size of these units, both of them will ship via a freight service. And that means they're going to ship on a pallet, they're going to be wrapped to that pallet, and the driver is going to call you to schedule delivery before they show up. Both of these units, both of these lines of units, actually will require you to also inspect the unit before signing for it, or have the driver write further inspection required. We want to make sure that when you get these units, if they're broken, we get you another one out at no cost to you, and this is how we do it. Neither of these units do offer any return periods, so if you end up deciding that you don't love it after you install it, unfortunately it's yours to keep because we can't accept it back and resell it. Often we can't even accept it back and have it in one piece. Due to that, make sure you watch this video a couple more times. And of course, check out our Neorest playlist and ask us any questions before purchasing to make sure that you're getting the perfect unit for your needs. Warranty-wise, these are both very good as well. With the Neorest, you're dealing with a 3-year full warranty with a white glove service. And what that means is that if you have someone who has a broken unit and they've called TOTO, they've emailed TOTO, or they've called and emailed us and we've looped TOTO in, and we're not able to get to the bottom of the issue, they'll send a certified tech out to your location to fix the unit in home, assuming that you're in one of their service areas, which 95% of the US is. The Studio Lux offers a 3-year full warranty on the electronics and a 5-year full warranty on everything else, but they do not offer a white glove service, so you're stuck with troubleshooting over the phone or email, or sending something in to have it repaired in the warehouse. Now that being said, warranty in a way is almost a moot point because both of these units stand up so well to the test of time. Now again, if you have any questions or concerns about either of these units, please don't hesitate to call, email, live chat with us, or even better yet, comment on this video so that your question can be used to help others as well when we reply. If you have any questions, reach out. Thank you so much for watching. Check out our Neorest playlist for the remote, as well as our Neorest comparison video, and have a fantastic day.
MiniBidets.com, where we sell mini bidets, not mini bidets.